President Trump just moments ago saying he has not been briefed on what Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche during those 2 days of discussions in which we're told she mentioned 100 names. It comes amid the release by the New York Times now of previously undisclosed images and descriptions of the interior of Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. And these are important details. It was a 21,000 square foot home, decorated, as the New York Times describes, in Epstein's eccentric style. There was a sculpture of a woman in a bridal dress clinging to a rope suspended from a ceiling, a taxidermied tiger lounging in Epstein's office, and the infamous massage parlor connected to Epstein's bedroom. The New York Times also shows photographs that Epstein displayed at his apartment of himself with some of the most prominent people in the world. Okay, and we're not using that word lightly. A photo from 2000 of Donald Trump with his then girlfriend Melania Knauss. Sure, that's one person. Bill Clinton and Epstein and another. Epstein with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. That picture also there, just to name a few. Front Now, Steve Eater, investigative reporter for the New York Times, who obtained these photographs. And Steve, it's incredible reporting. I mean, the famous people that Epstein had on display came from vastly different worlds, right? There was politics, entertainment, tech. I mentioned a few, but really only a few, because I know that there were others. When we talk about some of the most important people in the world that were photographed with him and shown in his apartment, who else?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me here to talk about the piece. Yeah, it's a real collection, as you said, of powerful people, of business people, of people in entertainment. So you had, anyone from Steve Bannon to Mick Jagger to Elon Musk, a pope, mixed in there. And I think, if you look at the photographs and think about this, it was, an attempt by Jeffrey Epstein to sort of show the degree of people that he could be acquaintances with, to be friendly with, and to have them in his life, and that he had that access.
Right, to show that access. Obviously, many of those pictures weren't taken actually in the townhouse itself, but they were displayed there, right? So the people would come through, would be awed by him and impressed by him. So those photos are there, and then, you've been through this actual massive townhouse in Manhattan. 40 rooms, and you've been in perhaps one of the most horrible ones, definitely one of the most horrible ones there, the massage room located in a suite of rooms connected to Epstein's bedroom. That massage room where Epstein was said to have assaulted some of his victims. And, look, in light of what we have now learned, that room, I'm sure you having been in there, is unfortunately very meaningful. What did you see?
Yeah, well, just to clarify, through the photographs, we were able to get a view into the home, not through a tour of the home of some sort. But just, what we did see, so on that floor that you're referring to, this is part of a 21,000 square foot home. And, what we learned through this is, on the third floor, there was basically this like suite that included Epstein's bedroom. It included bathrooms, but there was also, the massage room. We found, through the photographs that there were multiple cameras that had been mounted in these adjoining rooms. Not necessarily that we could tell in the massage room itself, but the massage room, there were paintings of naked women. For example, a silver ball and chain were among the kinds of things that we could see that were visible.
And just all of that, to think what happened in that actual room. And 40-room townhouse, I mean, it's a mansion. He renovated it fully. He redecorated it. And what you have described in your report, Steve, is an eccentric style. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in a word, creepy. I mean, I think that there are things that you would look around and you would see, like you mentioned at the top of this, the taxidermy tiger. For example, there was the sculpture of a woman wearing a bridal gown and clutching a rope in the central atrium of the home. Framed prosthetic eyeballs lining an entryway. Just sort of a general strangeness, creepiness, to the home, throughout. Leopard print chairs, for example, were among the things that we could detect and included in our report.
It's pretty incredible. I hope everyone will read it in full, look at the photos that you were able to obtain and share. so important in light of everything we're learning now. Steve, thank you so much. And of course, I will note none of the people that Steve and I were just talking about whose photographs were on display in Epstein's apartment, none of those individuals have been accused of wrongdoing in the Epstein case.
We're talking tonight about all that's transpired since the Trump administration tried to put a lid on the Jeffrey Epstein story nearly a month ago, and everything that's not being done to get more of the truth out there. For instance, the House subpoenas issued yesterday to former President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, former attorneys general in both Democratic and Republican administrations dating back to the George W. Bush presidency. But one name conspicuously not on that list, the man who years before he served in the first Trump administration was a prosecutor and reached a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein, which was controversial back then and even more so now. Details from CNN's Randy Kaye.
In 2006, the FBI began investigating Jeffrey Epstein's alleged activities with underage girls.
I've seen hundreds and hundreds of girls go through Jeffrey's swinging door.
Yet as the feds got closer, Epstein cut a sweetheart deal.
Here at Epstein's Palm Beach home is where much of the alleged abuse took place. According to court documents, as far back as 2001, it's believed Epstein began luring underage girls here with the help of those who worked for him. Most of the girls ranged in age from 13 to 16 and came from disadvantaged homes. They'd never before seen the exclusive Palm Beach Island.
Investigators had identified at least 36 girls and were still building their case when suddenly in 2007 came this non-prosecution agreement. It allowed Epstein to plead guilty to a lesser charge, just 2 prostitution charges in state court, and register as a sex offender. He would serve just 13 months in county jail. The deal also granted immunity to any potential co-conspirators. None of those people were identified. The deal shut down the FBI's investigation into additional victims and accomplices and any chance of Epstein going to prison for life.
I read the indictment. There was multiple allegations of sex trafficking, and then all of a sudden it disappeared.
The deal was signed off on by then U.S. Attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, who in 2017 became labor secretary under the first Trump administration.
He's supposed to be protecting these victims, and he was protecting Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile.
It's scary because this is our government that's supposed to protect us, but has done everything to protect, a pedophile.
At his confirmation hearing for Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta tried to explain his decision not to prosecute Epstein federally.
A plea that guarantees that someone goes to jail, that guarantees that someone register generally, and that guarantees other outcomes is a good thing.
2 years later, in July 2019, Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges after federal prosecutors in New York concluded that they weren't bound by the terms of the earlier non-prosecution deal. Days later, Acosta resigned as labor secretary amid public outrage over his role in Epstein's controversial plea deal.
I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today.
Top Democrats in Congress had called for his removal following the new federal charges against Epstein for allegedly sex trafficking young girls. 2 days before he resigned, Acosta said he was pleased about the new federal charges against Epstein.
Epstein's actions absolutely deserve a stiffer sentence.
About a month later, in August 2019, Epstein was found dead in his federal jail cell while awaiting trial.